1002. Present Bill McGowan, Lisa McGonigal, Wayne Sawchuck, Dan Coughlin, and Paul Kears. So we don't really have a lot, do we?
We don't. Not much at all.
Should we go to the Historical Society?
Yeah, I sent a response this morning that sort of had some clarification to that. And I don't know if you want me to just sort of repeat it, but
yeah, I read it. Yeah, whatever. I agree with you. I don't see why we want to charge them anything.
Yeah, and the betterment was, I guess, just when the sewer was put in, they just did it, even though it was it was just, that's what it was. Now it's just stayed there. There's no interest on it or anything. So I think it's just really a housekeeping thing of just take that off and then let them connect. And it is, strictly, townspeople that are using it when they need it, and very, very little consumption. And I'm not sure how we can get the toilet built because of the historic nature of it, but we're going to try to do that. So,
where are they going to install it? Is it going to go out to Beechwood, or is it going right out here, right down the street from me?
No. This is the two buildings in the center of town that are across the street from Via Bistro.
Mm-hmm.
The left-hand building is the Wilson House, and that is that house was there in late 1870s and early 1800s. And it has a sewer connection under the sidewalk that was just stubbed there when the original sewer went through the village, but nothing connected. And they did have a water line that they connected, and they don't pay any water fees. So they're gonna bring that on in. And the building next to it is the Maritime Museum, which is being set up for displays and stuff. And that has nothing in it. Neither one have heat or anything like that, but they're going to have to heat the Wilson House if they put the bathroom in or disconnect it for the wintertime. So anyway, it's just a matter of, I just would make a motion or I'd rather have someone else make a motion because I'm on the Historical Society. So
yeah, I make a motion that we connect the Historical Society without any charge. And do we want to do anything with the betterment, or just leave it as it is, Wayne, or what?
I think just cancel the betterment, or just.
I mean, they've already paid it, right? I mean, it's not like.
Huh?
Did they pay for it years ago?
No,
Oh, they didn't.
No, it was just done by the town, and at the time, the total was $6,000 for structures. Now they didn't know whether, this was going to be what, I don't know how they did it, but their responsibility was half of it, and it just happens to be on the deed or whatever like that. I don't know. I'd have to ask Glenn Pratt what the circumstances of it.
Yeah, the betterment has to be removed. That I know. Yeah.
So I would.
All right. Well, then
to remove the betterment.
Remove the betterment then, and whatever the structure that we have to do that. So as far as legally. But, yeah. Can I get a second?
Paul Kears, second.
All right, all in favor, aye. Bill McGowan.
Paul Kears, aye.
Wayne Sawchuck, aye.
Okay.
I had something that came up this morning, so it's not really in the minutes, but I just wanted to see if Lisa or anybody else knows about it. A house is being constructed up on Howe Road today. The foundation's in, and they're starting to frame the house. And the building inspector told the contractor that before he will inspect the frame on the house, that the sewer connection has to be installed, including pump and everything, into the foundation. And I didn't know if we now had a rule that said that when building houses, the sewer has to be completed, in that manner. And so, Lisa, I don't know if there was, if that was the case.
Do you know what number Howe Road?
It is the one that we didn't know whether the sewer was in Howe Road or not. And I think it's going to be like number 12 or something. Landers did a lot of blasting and everything. So it's the corner of Howe Road and Diab Lane there. That's on the Howe Road side.
So who would determine that, whether or not it has to be in the foundation?
Well, a situation existed at Windy Hill Road that I was called into when I went down there. The house was completely finished and they hadn't done the sewer, and they ran into some property situations where they were going to sewer was on someone else's property and tie into their pipe. And then there was some disagreement about that. And so that wasn't possible. And so they ended up coming into the street and tapping it, I guess, in the street. And so I don't know. They wouldn't have been able to get an occupancy permit without the sewer. And I think they held up the whole sale and people moving in and everything else. So I just wonder whether, now this happened all in September, October era before our new building inspector took over in January. So I don't know whether that is behind this, so that if you don't have the sewer, you can't tie in, you can't get an occupancy permit. But if you wait till the very end, you might end up right into ledge and all these other problems that delay it unnecessarily. So I don't know. Dan, what do you think? What other towns do in terms of that? To me,
yeah, usually that's not a requirement, to be honest with you. Especially the pump. You don't want that in too early because it gets damaged. Usually if they just stub it out and then they finish it later on, but especially if it's on a pump system, it's not like it has to get to the sewer pipe with a certain slope or a pitch. If that were the case, then yeah, I mean, you could bring it back from the gravity sewer, but this isn't. This is all pressure.
And we've never discussed this. I don't think. I mean, this has not ever come before this board. I don't remember.
Yeah, that was my whole purpose of bringing it up, was that are they, not. I just, it would just like to have either Brian, I guess, would be the person that this really goes through, rather than anybody else.
Wouldn't we go to the building inspector and say, what the heck's going on? I mean, I agree. I think, what if somebody ran over it with an excavator while they're moving junk around in the yard and push the pump down another 10 feet into underground? I mean, it's,
well, just break it and then have the sewer flowing out.
well, that too. But I mean,
Or water flowing in.
yeah, I just don't see why we would do this, and how they, I mean, I think, Lisa, if you went down to building department and say, what's going on, ask them what's happening. And then, if there's something where the guy's going to dig his heels in, well, we can bring it up with Brian.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what else, I mean, it certainly hasn't come to us.
I don't think you have anything in your regs regarding that type of sequence.
Yeah.
I only heard about it because the contractor called me to say, what's the story here? And was in a position that, you frame it up so you can backfill it and doing all this other stuff. And now to add a different something else here was going to present some issues for him. So.
Who is the contractor, Wayne?
Jimmy Merritt.
Thank you. Brian is on, and there's a Meg Wheeler on also. Meg is.
Yeah, Brian's on now, so maybe we could ask Brian about this particular new regulation.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, a little late. What's the question, Wayne?
The question is, the building inspector has told a contractor who is building a house that he needs to have the sewer connected before he will inspect the frame of the house, meaning giving him a set period of time to put it in almost like first, rather than waiting until further on in the construction.
So I haven't, do you know the address?
Yeah, it's up on Howe Road.
Okay, so I would just say, I don't know, I haven't heard anything about that sequence, but I would say that they are required to have fully designed sewer plans and permissions from the sewer commission prior to doing any kind of work. Other than that, as far as physically connecting it, I'm indifferent. I mean, as long as they just need it connected before they get the occupancy permit. I can talk to John Hallen about that, but I would say that in the past, things have fallen through the cracks where folks have not gotten, sewer commission approval prior to building something.
Now, we did have a situation several months ago where on Windy Hill, the house was completely finished. The sewer wasn't done. There ended up being some legal issues about where it was going to be connected to, because maybe a neighbor did not want it to go over part of, get into their side of the property or something. And it resulted in, I guess, unnecessary delays. And I was brought up there, and I just thought it was crazy that it hadn't even been connected yet. I said, what if there's that problem of not getting it done? It just is, you can't have a house sitting without sewer.
Right. So, I mean, I'd prefer to have it on the all the site work done along with the foundation, which includes water, sewer, getting all your sleeves in and everything. But I'm not sure what you guys discussed before I came on. I mean, as long as it's fully vetted, approved, and designed prior to,
Right. Dan mentioned that there is a greater possibility of having it damaged if it's done too soon and it's on a pressure system, so that if someone ran over the pump because they didn't realize that it's there or something while they're grading or whatever, that could, because of the pump system, stuff like that could be an issue. But there should be the proper, when you go and do it, you should have it up to the proper grades and put a barricade or something around it so people don't drive over this green cover,
Right.
And Brian, we have never heard of this before. I mean, this is the first time this has surfaced to this board.
And the question is posed to the board is why you're requiring it to be done prior to framing? Is that the question?
Prior to getting a framing inspection, meaning that was the deadline for having it finished.
I mean, I'll defer to the board on whatever your preference is. I mean, I'm indifferent. It's caveat emptor. If they build it before, they own it, whether it's before or after. I think as long as it's designed, approved, and paid for before they stop breaking any ground, then I think that's the line in the sand that I would draw. The sequence of events is up to the builder and the homeowner.
Right.
And, we have a new building commissioner, so I'll defer to him too, as far as the sequence he wants to build things.
Well, it's the building commissioner's request to have it done. It has nothing to do with us. It's just kind of a surprise to the contractor that it's being done prior to him getting the permit for the continuation. So,
Yeah, the bottom line, it's not your requirement, it's the building commission's requirement.
right, yeah.
I hate to just draw a line in the sand and say this is the way it should be, because every site could be a little different, and there might be reasons for why he wants it that way, because of retaining walls, backfilling, or whatever. But at least from your perspective, it's nothing in your regs requires that sequence.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I don't want to see us getting into is a turf war as to who owns what where. I think it might be a good idea, Lisa, that for the next session we have the building commissioner come and just talk to us.
Okay.
I haven't met the guy yet. I don't know who he is.
Yeah, I mean, so just and I'm totally speculating here, but so John Hallen just started after the retirement of Bob Egan, who was the building commissioner for decades. And, you know, one of the first things he had on his docket was CJC, something that's fully framed, approved, is a big giant building that has no sewer approval or connection. So I think he may be, and I don't want to say rightly so or not, but, you know, he may be sensitive to that and saying, you know, no more building until you have a sewer. You can't fault him for that. And again, that's my opinion. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I think it's a good idea to have him on board, at least just to do the introductions and interactions. But as far as your opinion, I think your answer to this customer is just, you know, it's in the purview of the building commissioner on how they want to do the sign off.
I think we can meet him, so.
I would agree with an introductory meeting with the new building inspector, just to get an idea of what his thoughts are when it comes to sewer, because certainly anyone building is getting approval prior to getting the permits issued. So it shouldn't matter, you know, if we approve the sewer, and all permits have been issued, then it shouldn't be our concern when the sewer goes in or not, or gets connected or not. It's usually the building inspector. So if he could just give us his opinion on how he sees the process, and we can better understand it.
There may be a bigger issue with things that might be under construction today that might not have a sewer connection and need one. And there might be, you know, there may be something that is not on the residential side, but that is affecting his decisions on what he's, you know, what he wants to protect the town in the future.
Lisa, at one point in time, you had sent over like a list of things to the building commissioners, I believe.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I think probably about, I don't know, a year ago, you might have sent something over to the building commissioner's office regarding certain things that the sewer commission wanted in terms of the sewer connections being notified. Wasn't there some document you sent over there?
I don't think it was a document. I had a conversation with John when he first started about having sewer be on the sign-offs for permitting.
Okay, I thought you might have had a list that might be good to give the commissioner.
I thought it was, it ended up being everything that, in one of the meetings, it was discussed here, and I believe the sewer commission determined that all permitting should be through sewer.
Okay, I thought maybe there was something you could give to John so he has some guide, but.
Yeah. But I do get the notifications for sign-offs for permitting. And usually if they are going on municipal sewer, I'll put a note in there that they have to submit a sewer application and pay the application fee. And with the application, they need the engineering drawing showing where the sewer is going to be connected before I sign off on the permit.
Yeah, and you know what, the only thing I'd add to that is that if sewer signs off, it should be either yourself or one of us signing off, not somebody else, because that happened a couple of times when I first joined the board, you know, that Confucius was signing the sewer permits for somebody, and nobody knew who this person was. So I'm like,
Oh,
yeah. Well, that was under another administration. So, yeah, why don't we do that? Just see if he'll come to the next meeting. That'd be great.
okay, I'll invite him. Speaking of which, when are we going to have the next meeting?
Oh, thank you. Let's see, the 13th. Does the 13th work for everybody?
I believe so. Check my.
Fine with me.
Yeah, I need to check my star chart because I think it's the beginning of Ramadan, but I'm not sure it's going to affect anyone. So,
So April 13th, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday. All right.
same time.
Yeah.
Also, did everybody have a chance to look at the sewer meeting minutes from last?
Yeah, I did. I didn't see anything.
I'm good with it.
I actually did too, so
Wow.
I know, that's really well.
So can we have a vote to approve them?
I make a motion that we vote to approve the meeting minutes that were just discussed.
Second, Wayne Sawchuck.
Yeah, all in favor, Bill McGowan, aye.
Paul Kearsarge,
Wayne Sawchuck, aye.
Thank you. And the only other thing that we have on the agenda is the preparation for the April 1st meeting with the advisory committee.
yeah, and Meg Wheeler is on from advisory as well.
I think the combination of a couple of things, you know, some of the stuff that we had put together before, Lisa, that you got for me, and then the thing that Don put together, I think can make up a couple of slides that we'll submit to them prior to the meeting, so they see, you know, not only the capital requests, but reasoning for us asking for the 10% rate increase.
Yeah, so on that presentation, Bill, you stated that the other rates for the other towns were listed and it wasn't listed on that.
Yeah, well, I will do it. I haven't done the whole thing yet. It was just the one that Dawn had. I want to add another one that talks about the differences between Suez's contract and Woodard and Curran's contract, the rates of our surrounding towns, and, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, how long is the contract for? Is this a renewal?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, I do know, and I
just-
can't remember.
I just saw that yesterday, so I was kind of surprised it was up for renewal.
I don't know if it
Does it expire in 90 days from now when we're renewing it early?
I have no idea. Can you find out, Lisa, what's going on with that?
I'm sorry, I kind of missed the question.
When Woodard and Curran's contract expires?
Okay.
Yeah, because we're reviewing the pricing compared to the two.
Mhm.
So I was just intrigued by that. Usually if you have a long operational contract where somebody is ongoing operations on a daily basis, it's usually, you know, 90 or 120 day notice to where you renew. That gives them time if there is no renewal to exit gracefully. So I just was wondering if it was up 6 months from now or what the status was.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to say it was a 5-year contract, but I'll check with Michelle.
So it would be up then in 2020.
They've only been doing it for 2 years, so you figure we got another 2.5 to 3 years on it.
So we're negotiating early.
No, there's no reason.
What is the $300,000 deal that was sent across?
I don't know what you're.
So
Yes.
that was just for the presentation that, for the rate increase, just showing the difference between, showing that we had increases in our costs.
Okay,
And Bill had
Oh, yeah.
asked if I can find out what we paid, what Suez contract was versus what Woodard and Curran's contract was.
okay.
And that's what that was about. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear.
And,
Okay,
and
yeah,
the-
I thought it was a new contract coming up.
No. So what I wanted to do is just say, because it averages out about 9,000 a month, 9,000 a month, something like that. No, not a 9,000 a month, 3,000 a month. But what's difficult to decipher is that Suez would include electric costs within their rate, and then would true it up at the end of the year, but also add an 8% escalation to electricity, whether or not there was an 8%, you know.
Yeah.
So there's some of this stuff that we have to just sort of noodle around a little bit so that don't sound like complete dummies when we start talking to these guys. So
Yeah,
it's just that the Woodard's actually more money, but they're probably, you know, if the factor of an increase is 2, the factor of the results that we're getting via their managing the plant is a factor of like 8 billion. So Suez didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Period.
yeah. So yeah, because we have 4 electric accounts that I recall, and we're paying electric direct.
Correct. Yeah.
I suppose then, okay, that's better for us to be able to control.
Well, because we were subject to the 8% increase regardless of whether there was that
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
And
Okay.
it just, we had no way of getting out of it. It was a contractual obligation and they wouldn't get, and they were telling us, well, you're buying it on a bulk price because we're buying for so many projects and what have you throughout the town. But that it didn't really look that way when you compared the total at the end of the year and what we could have paid. So.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's all the information to support the financials going to advisory, so that we can demonstrate that we've been on a cost-saving measure for a period of time.
Yep. I mean, and part of it was we were hamstrung by the Suez contract that we just couldn't get out of. And thankfully we are out of it.
Okay,
But we have, increased usage, so we're processing more flows, and electricity has absolutely exploded. It's crazy what we are paying for electricity now. I mean, it was well under 10,000 when, several years ago, and now it's almost $25,000 or so. So a month, and that's just it's crazy.
yeah, so the only thing we control is by contract.
Yep. Basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Lisa? I have one thing I
No.
want to add, but
I don't have anything.
all right. So last night, Don sent me, and I believe he copied everybody. Dan, I sent it to you this morning. It was just the sort of back end or the front end of an agreement with you for services. And most of it is sort of legalese and boilerplate of, parties of the first part and all of that. The second to last page has an actual services scope document. Basically, it's a one page, talks about the project, the date, the description of the services that will be rendered and completion date, the compensation as far as maximum project amount, payments, reimbursable expenses, and all that sort of thing. And so my thought on this, Dan, is that once we start putting this together, then any project that you do, this will be the sort of front page of it. So we know we can go to it and say, okay, this is what it is. This is when it, when it started, when it ends, and how much it's going to cost.
I'll take a look at it. I just opened it up.
Yeah, most of it is all. Yeah, I just looked at that this morning. I just printed it out, and it's pretty much all legalese for the first.
I actually sent him a copy of our old contract, and
Yeah.
I think this is following that format.
Yeah, he might have yeah, because I know he said he spoke to you. So, and all I asked him to do was to put a one pager together, which is this Exhibit A, which we can put on the top of every service piece that says, okay, this is what we're doing, who you report to, all that sort of stuff, and it'll make it easier for us to figure it out. And then we put a project number on it.
Okay.
Yeah, you asked for us to give any input to this directly to Rod, Bill. So I sent my input yesterday to him.
Yep.
So I didn't check before the meeting to see if he responded back, but I just had two small concerns that maybe he can address. It really had to do with 7.4, and I wanted to add something to 2.1. So I'll wait to hear from him on that. 7.4 basically is saying that this contract is the general contract for everything that he's doing, and that it will supersede or not supersede other terms and conditions. My only question was, how we talked about issuing a purchase order from the town,
Right,
for specific services at a specific rate. And I just wanted to make sure that there isn't a conflict between the town procurement rules and this paragraph 7.4. So, if there's change orders, it says that, nothing could be changed or anything could be done without the commission's approval. But I just wanted to make sure that the town didn't have a procurement requirement that requires them to sign off on change orders, in addition to the commission.
Yeah,
So-
see, I wasn't necessarily wanting the town to issue a purchase order. I wanted to have a way of us tracking so that we could track work orders with invoices that come in, because right now it's hard. So it's, if we started off and said it's going to be, 01, 03, 21 is the first project that we start, that document will have all of the things that are in Exhibit A, along with anything else that necessarily has to be attached to it. And then when it's completed, we just sign off on it, and sign off on the invoice. I'd rather not have to go through the purchasing department, or procurement rather, for every one of these. And I don't know if we have to, because we don't have to go through that unless it's over $3,000. Is that correct? I think, is that the threshold on these?
I know capital is anything over 5,000 is capital budget, but I don't know advisory. Meg, do you know if there's any,
Sorry, I just, my ears just perked up. I was having a separate conversation. It was a question about procurement rules?
Well, if we're doing services with Dan, my druthers are not to go through procurement, but to do it through us, as we have been, but have a little bit tighter control over what gets done and how we get it billed. And if there are services being done, not capital, I don't think there's a threshold on that we have to meet that forces us into procurement.
No, consulting services are different than thresholds for, buying
Cap.
other services. So yeah, no, that's accurate. But I think all procurement of all kind of contracts and goods and services do funnel, even if it's just paperwork or administratively, through Michelle's office. So
Yeah, we can show her this stuff so she has it, but I would suspect that we want to maintain control of it ourselves. And because basically what I wanted to do is have a way of easily tracking work effort with invoicing. That was the purpose of this one.
Yeah. So design, engineering, and consulting services are exempt from the procurement rules. But the other rules you were talking about, it was 3,000, 5,000. So today's procurement rules, if you were going to go out and buy a grit screw or something like that, so 10,000 to 50,000 is 3 quotes, 3 solicited quotes. From 50,000 to 100,000 is you need to advertise and bid, and then over 100,000 if you're doing Chapter 149, there's other rules and requirements. But basically that kind of midland ground of it's 10,000 to 50,000, and then under 10,000 is best judgment, which for procurement rules, town or Cohasset, it's still 3 quotes. You want to get 3 quotes and go like that. But those are the MGL rules.
In terms of engineering services, that doesn't fall in that domain.
Yeah.
I think the only time that kicks in, though, is if it's a building structure over 100,000 at that point in time.
Okay.
One thing that you should know, that this agreement doesn't have an end date.
Right, but we're right, but it does have a termination clause in it. So, and again, this is sort of like a tenant at will. If you look at Article 5, I mean, we can end it on 10 days notice.
You do have completion dates for each one of the exhibits. Oh, he did add that as a line item.
Yeah, so this is a general services agreement, and then each subject matter is going to be issued a work order, if you will, added to Exhibit A, specific to the task and a cost assigned to it.
Yep.
And he's going to do it. If there's cost overruns, then it has to get approved by us again and amended, and that's how it's going to go moving forward. So there's just a general provision saying we're using his services over a period of time that would be defined by Exhibit A, the period of time as each task is assigned, right? So that's how I understand it.
Yep.
There is, the termination clauses, which work both ways. The only thing I asked Rod was to to add a provision for the commission in 2.1. And I also wanted a provision where this contract states requirements to be a contractor for the commission by providing, certificates of insurance and certificates in good standing from the state that you paid your taxes, that kind of stuff. I'd like to see that on an annual basis because this is kind of an ongoing contract where services will be added over a period of time. So we could go 2-3 years like this, just issuing work orders and having him complete it. So I asked for Rod to give me his opinion on having some level of annual requirements of meeting a standard that the commission feels is acceptable.
Okay.
One question that I have on it is there going to be a project that is for our consulting time, going to meetings or answering questions or anything like that don't deal with a specific project? Meaning someone comes to us and says, can I do this or whatever? Part of his retainer is for that, support to the board for different things that come up.
Yes, I think I think it's the first item on sort of the task list that Dan put together was for that. And we would, if we all agree on this and sign it, because one of the things I said to Ron, we need to have a signature page, which he said he was going to send out. And then also an initial on this is that we would do one for like a year or something to that effect, that this is going to be, the retainer for a year, the monthly run rate, the obligations and all that. So
that would be
right.
considered one project.
Yes. Yeah.
For counting, we want to see what we're spending for that versus what.
Well, it would be, in my opinion, it would be just like some of the bills that we get, that there is an encumbrance of, say, $500,000, but every month it's like, 100,000 or whatever it is, and that's what we pay off. But the order itself at the bottom of them, it has a large amount, but the actual amount that goes out monthly is, so if it's a $12,000 commitment that we make on this, all we would really be doing is billing it out at $1,000 a month or whatever. We're paying it out at $1,000 a month.
Right. Okay. And when we send it out, can we correct the spelling of my last name and eliminate the second C?
Well, I can ask. I don't know. I mean,
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I'd like to see the response from Rod and what I had sent him.
Yeah, so this is the discussion we're having, and then it can be refined.
Yep.
In the next few weeks.
Well, I'd like to get it done the next time we meet. We can sign it and all that. So.
Okay. Good. Bye.
Well, yeah, and Paul, those are pretty standard requirements as far as maintaining updated insurance on file with you as well.
Yeah, I just would like to memorialize it in writing, that's all. And add a provision for the commission in section 2.1. And that would satisfy my concerns. You've already, Brian, pretty much satisfied the issue with the procurement. If we're not going to use procurement to issue purchase orders for each job, then that doesn't apply to 7.4. So that would work fine. I just think that we need, between the three of us, Lisa and Brian, the five of us, we just need to have a tracking mechanism. That's all. That's an internal thing.
Yep. Okay. Lisa, anything else that we need to run through?
I don't have anything.
Okay. All right. Anyone else, guys? Yeah, Brian.
Yeah. So we're Elm Street corridor. We're doing the water project down the Elm Street corridor, and the corridor itself is going to be redesigned in some way, shape, or form and repaved soon. Looking at the last I&I report, there seemed to be some I&I, and some of the oldest sewer in town is on Elm Street. So I just want to bring it to the board that we should probably consider doing sections or more of the Elm Street sewer while we're doing the water project. Put it as a bid line in that same project, and the savings in doing a joint contract versus individual. So
When is this gonna start, Brian?
we're doing the water design now. It's good, hoping to break ground by late summer, early fall, depending on when we can get the bids out. We're looking at June-ish timeframe. I talked to Dawn. There is like 170,000 left in I&I, and if there is some significant I&I as reported on, I think the last report, maybe Dan can elaborate, but there was some 10 gallon per minute leaks that were shown in there. I don't think they've been addressed. The last I&I report was right before COVID hit, and it was kind of all hands on deck on the membrane emergency things.
Right.
Yeah, there are some defects on some of especially on some of the laterals that go off of Elm Street. So, I mean, they're probably, to be honest, they're probably better address the spot repairs before you do your work. Just because I'm not sure if the contractor is going to have the capabilities needed to do the repairs. In some case, we're talking, doing short liners or doing spot repairs. I mean, what other work is he doing? Is he doing any drain or anything like that? The contract?
I mean, my fear is the current design is running a parallel water main. That water main's from the 1800s, and running a parallel water main and then abandoning the old one. And in running that parallel one, I know the old sewer main, it might be some vitrified clay or something that
Definitely.
even if they don't expose it, they may disturb the ground and damage it. And then we get to a restoration project, and then we have a sewer thing that we need to dig up because we've crushed the pipe unknowingly, 2 feet below where the excavation was or something like that. And if we know that there's I&I, either we can do an extensive project like a liner or just replace the worst sections of where while they have the excavation and they're close, we can just put a bid on item in there.
So an uneducated question. What is the size of the sewer pipe that goes down Elm Street?
I thought it was 10.
Let's say like a 10 or a 12 inch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So say, all right, so say you have a 10 inch. So to your point, Brian, about can't there be like an insert or a liner while it's open? Can't we just do one as sort of a mediation for future disturbance and things like that? I mean, wouldn't it be a time that we could actually do something that could extend the life of the sewer line without replacing it?
Yes. So, I mean, you got in situ liners, but my point is, I think we should probably do something while we're doing the water main, under the same contract.
Is this line going to be used by the new 25 units in the harbor?
So the line down there, it's all gravity, and it flows down from basically Stevens Lane next to the police station, kind of towards the harbor, and then you have the harbor section comes down, and there's a lateral that goes through into the backyards, and then the main trunk that comes into the sewer plant flows through the salt marsh behind there. So, depending on where the leaks are and the sections we need to fix, it could take some of the flow from the Cohasset Harbor in, or it could, take flow from the police station side. But
Yeah,
it's all gravity, so it's different than pressure, where if you have a pressure leak, you're just weeping out into the ground. If you have a gravity leak, then you have I&I coming in.
Yeah, I'm just wondering though, if these units get put in a year or two from now, their flow rate's got to be somewhere around 7,500 to 10,000 gallons a day, right? So is that going to have an effect on this old line that you're talking about?
I think
Yeah, for the most part, the line wasn't in that bad of a shape. It's just at certain connection points where some of the laterals came off, where we found some cracking and breaks. But generally, the line on Elm Street was in pretty good shape, generally speaking. bigger questions probably in the marsh leg and behind. So, I mean, I think what Brian's concern is, you know, it is clay pipe. It is easily fractured. So depending on where they're doing the water main excavation work, the condition could worsen, or there could be some breaks in the pipe. I don't think, you know, I think the ideal thing is try to stay away from it, but I don't know how, you know, what kind of width you have when you're putting the one next to it.
So at minimum, we have 170,000 that's going to remain in the budget for FY22 that could be used for Brian's concerns. Because it's not earmarked for anything in particular at the moment, I don't believe.
Well, it's
Well,
earmarked
it's I
for
and I
I work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not necessary for replacement of pipes unless the pipe needs replacement. It's basically the target to do repairs, to seal leaks. And you probably, my guess is you probably have, you know, upwards of $70,000 to $100,000 worth of work in the Elm Street corridor that could be done.
No.
Do we still have any watertight manhole covers and stuff that we want to put on Elm Street in the areas that flood? Or did we complete all of that the last time?
Take a look at it. I know the floodplain pretty much floods the houses on the Jacobs Meadow side. It might maybe touch the curb line. I'm not sure you have sewer manholes there, but we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, there were a couple, you know, the area that floods out along Margin Street on a regular basis. Some of those manholes did have active leaks in them. And it wasn't necessarily just the covers. It could have been the riser sections and the core bell and actually some pipe penetration areas as well. But some of those manholes needed some work.
So I was just bringing it to the board's attention that I've been talking to, you know, we're kind of in the conceptual design of the water thing and where it gets close to the sewer, you know, just maybe sequence wise, maybe we do the water main, we camera the sewer, and where it's bad, then go in and do strategic kind of fixes. So you're done disturbing the area.
Yep.
Or something more extensive. But I just want to say we're probably going to need to tap that capital because we're not going to cut this road ideally for another 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, we do have old videos. So, I mean, what Brian's saying, if they get close, you know, doing compaction, regular excavation, it could damage or crack the old clay pipe. So it is a good idea to go back after they're all done and just double check it. And then maybe at that time address it. The only thing is, if it's in really bad shape, that would involve excavation, and obviously Brian's going to be fixing the road and paving it, so it would have to be done pretty much in that same window.
Yeah, I think if we build in the bid items that we may potentially need, then we're not paying the premium on change orders, and it's just, you know, it's a unit cost that they bid.
Are they going to make any changes to the layout of Elm Street there, making it narrower or anything else like that as part of the plan?
Yeah, I mean, the concept is there's a whole working group that I'm not part of with the planning, the implementation committee. But yeah, the idea is to give it a little bit of a road diet, have more pedestrian and bike access and green space on the sides. That's one of the widest roads in town unnecessarily. So I mean, you reduce it, you reduce your maintenance and your, you know, paving liability going forward. But that design on where the curbs are and all that hasn't been completed, and it's going to require public meetings and you know, input from the residents and all that stuff.
Yeah, but that's going to be something that's going to be completed before you pave it.
Oh yeah, sure. But I mean, you know, every road project starts with getting the underground new, and then you work your way up.
Right.
So I anticipate we'll get the utilities done this year, settle out for a year, get the trenches, you know, settle out, and then by that time we'll have flushed out what we're going to do with the rest of the road, and then that'll probably dovetail into what happens down the harbor, you know, with that, whatever the design and they may do where the harbor hotel is. You know, it's all supposed to integrate.
Perfect.
Brian, while we have you, do you know, has there been any conversations to your knowledge between the town managers of Situate, Hull, and Cohasset?
Not since well, to my knowledge, not since we met. I can't say, I think Chris probably talks to them more regularly, but I haven't heard of anything since we met with them a couple weeks back.
Okay. Okay, guys, anything else?
The only other thing was, Wayne, you had brought up about that sewer disconnect policy and fee. I had sent that around. I sent another email around just in case it didn't get through to everybody, but I'm pretty sure you approved that last meeting.
Yeah, I thought we did.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, but there was a question of whether or not we can implement it immediately or not.
That was, I thought there's an answer from our town council saying yes.
I haven't seen it. I just,
That was part of the,
yeah, because we had the applicant from Diab Lane on,
right.
and we told him we just voted 5 minutes before he came on to increase the rates and he owed us more money. So
Right.
we had to figure out from council whether or not the rate had to go to town meeting or if we could implement it immediately. So
It was,
Ron had said that it can be implemented immediately. He said
Okay.
that in the meeting.
That's fine then. All right, anything else, guys? No?
all
All
set.
right, I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Paul Kears, second.
Wayne Sawchuk.
Tom McGowan, aye.
Paul Kears, aye.
Wayne Sawchuk, aye.
All right, thanks, guys. See you
April
next time.
13th.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. See ya.